February 4th, 2016. Amidst the busy streets of Dhaka, Bangladesh, there stood an unassuming building that housed one of the most vital institutions of the country, the Bangladesh Bank. For the employees of the bank, it was just a regular working day. Weekend was just around the corner, but little did they know that they were going to witness something that would shake the entire nation's financial stability and challenge the very foundations of global banking security. Over the next 4 days, the Bangladesh Bank was going to lose $81 million to hackers, and if it hadn't been for 2 words, Jupiter and Foundation, they would have actually lost almost $1 billion. Yes, a billion with a B. This is the story of the biggest cyber bank heist in history. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Prep. So, it all started in Jan 2015. Yeah, that's right, almost 13 months before the actual heist. The hackers went to LinkedIn and Facebook and found out the contacts of bank employees. Once they had their email IDs, they sent out job applications to them, mostly targeting employees who were looking to hire new people. Some of the bank employees, without realizing that these were phishing emails, opened the attachments thinking that they were resumes. And that's how the bank's computer system was infected with the malware. At least 3 employees had attempted to open and download the malicious file. One of the job applications sent was under the name Rahzal Alam using the email ID yardgen@gmail.com. This email ID is important to the story, and I'll get to it later in the video. For months, the hackers studied the bank's procedures and observed their security protocols. The hackers' ultimate target were the SWIFT terminals, which are used to transfer funds. The SWIFT network, which stands for Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication, is a secure messaging system that facilitates international payments between banks. It allows banks around the world to communicate transaction instructions in a standardized, reliable, and secure manner. The malware jumped from one computer to the other. While doing so, it was also erasing its digital footprint. The malware would stay on one computer, steal the credentials, move to the next computer, and then delete itself from the previous computer. So, when the IT department ran checks for any malware, it didn't find any. Or they thought maybe it was infected a few days back but is not anymore. So, we are okay. The malware remained undetected and finally landed on the SWIFT system on January 29, 2016. It had taken almost a year for the hackers to infect and hijack the SWIFT systems. But the hackers were posed with 2 challenges. The first challenge was that the Bangladesh Bank used to record all its SWIFT transactions on its computers. So if an employee saw a fraudulent transaction, it could block or revert the transaction. It took the hackers some time to figure out how to disable that. It was later found out that it only required them to change 4 characters in the code to delete the transaction logs. The second challenge was that the bank also used to print every SWIFT transaction on paper. So they had to disable the printer as well, and they did. Now the hackers were ready for the attack. Chapter 2. The Heist. The heist started on Thursday, 4th of Feb 2016 at 8 p.m. The hackers had timed the attack perfectly. See, in Bangladesh, the weekend is on Friday and Saturday. So there was no bank employee to monitor any suspicious activity during this time. The hackers initiated 35 fraudulent transactions via the SWIFT system, attempting to transfer $951 million from Bangladesh Bank's account at the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. The Bangladesh Bank maintains an account at the New York Fed with reserves worth billions of dollars meant for international settlements. These 35 transfer requests sent by the hackers were to transfer the money from Bangladesh Bank's New York Fed account to various accounts set up in 2 countries, Sri Lanka and the Philippines. These transactions were carried out between 8 p.m. on February the 4th and 7:30 a.m. on February the 5th, Bangladesh time. Next morning in New York, which was a Friday, the New York Fed started processing the 35 transfer requests sent by the Bangladesh Bank. Now, on Sunday, the employees of the Bangladesh Bank returned from the weekend, only to find that the printer wasn't working. When they finally fixed the printer problem and got it working, the printer started printing the backlog of the 35 transactions which were initiated over the weekend. There was panic in the bank as they realized that they had lost almost $1 billion. They immediately tried to contact the New York Federal Reserve to stop the payment orders, but it was a Sunday and no one was there to respond. And by Monday, it was too late. But by pure stroke of luck, the New York Fed held 30 transactions equaling $850 million. This happened because the address mentioned in one of the orders had the word Jupiter in it. This money was going into accounts in a bank named RCBC, which is located on the Jupiter Street in Manila, Philippines. Jupiter is the name of a sanctioned Iranian ship, and the mere mention of the word raised a red flag in the Fed's system, and the entire batch of 30 transactions were held for review. At the same time, the New York Fed realized that the amount was too big, and so they needed to confirm that with the Bangladesh Bank. Of the 35 transactions, 5 were left. One of these 5 transactions worth $20 million was sent to a nonprofit organization called Shalika Foundation in Sri Lanka. But the hackers made a small mistake here. Instead of foundation, they misspelled it as Fandation. This raised a red flag at the Deutsche Bank, one of the intermediary banks involved in processing the transaction, and the transaction was blocked. But 4 transactions worth $81 million went through. The money was transferred to 4 accounts in the RCBC Bank on Jupiter Street in Manila, Philippines. The 4 accounts had been lying dormant with just $500 since May 2015. And then suddenly they had $81 million in them. On Monday, that is the 8th of Feb 2016, the Bangladesh Bank tried to contact the RCBC Bank in the Philippines to stop the payment. But Monday was a public holiday in the Philippines on the occasion of the Chinese New Year. And by Tuesday, it was too late, and the Bangladesh Bank had lost $81 million. Now you see how brilliant the timing was. Friday and Saturday were the weekend in Bangladesh. Saturday and Sunday were the weekend in New York. And Monday was a public holiday in the Philippines. The 35 fraudulent transactions were initiated on Thursday night in Bangladesh. On Friday, when the New York Fed tried to confirm the transactions with the Bangladesh Bank, the bank was closed. On Sunday, when the Bangladesh Bank tried to stop the transactions, the New York Fed was away for the weekend. On Monday, when the Bangladesh Bank tried to stop the 4 fund transfers in the Philippines, the RCBC Bank was closed for the Chinese Lunar New Year. See, when there's a long weekend, go to the beach, go to the mountains, don't go and rob a bank. The bank was lucky enough to save $870 million, $850 because of Jupiter and $20 thanks to Foundation, but they still lost the 81. And $81 million is a big amount, more so for a developing country like Bangladesh, where almost 20% of the population lives below the poverty line. Most people in Bangladesh don't even own a bank account, and incidents like these undermine the trust in the banking system. Chapter 3. The Chase. In the Philippines, the stolen money was quickly moved through a series of transactions to obscure its origins. It was transferred to various bank accounts owned by shell companies and then converted into cash at casinos in Manila. The reason why the attackers used high-stakes Philippine casinos to launder the stolen funds was because the casinos in the Philippines were exempt from anti-money laundering reporting requirements at the time. After the heist, the investigation into the attack started. The cybersecurity experts from companies like FireEye and Symantec analyzed the malware and found similarities between the code and the tools and techniques used in the Bangladesh bank heist and several other cyber attacks across the globe. A similar attack was done on the Sony pictures back in 2014. But one thing stood out. The email ID, yargen@gmail.com, which was used to send the job application disguised as a phishing email, was also used in the Sony pictures hack of 2014. Suspicions began to fall on a notorious group of hackers known as the Lazarus Group. The Lazarus Group had a history of targeting financial institutions and conducting high-profile cyber attacks. As the experts continued digging through the logs and the code, they found something which took them by surprise. Some of the IP addresses, servers, and domains used in the attack were traced back to locations within North Korea. This same IP addresses were also used in attacks on South Korean banks and media organizations, as well as in the Sony pictures hack. This confirmed the involvement of North Korea in the heist. Some defectors and insiders have reportedly confirmed the existence of North Korea's cyber warfare unit, Bureau 121, which is believed to house the Lazarus Group. Defectors have described the group as being tasked with conducting global cyber operations to generate revenue for the North Korean regime. Most of the nation-state attacks are for espionage and due to geopolitical issues. But this is the only instance where a nation-state is carrying out such attacks to steal money. But why would North Korea be involved in such hacking and cyber heists? Well, North Korea faces international sanctions that restrict its access to the global financial systems. These heists are a way to fund their state projects like their nuclear program, to fund the lifestyle of their dictator and their elite, and also to boost their GDP. During the investigation, one name came up: Park Jin Hyok. This name was used in setting up various accounts and email addresses used in sending phishing emails to the Bangladesh Bank and Sony pictures. It is believed that the main man responsible for the heist and the mastermind leading the Lazarus Group is Park Jin Hyok. When we watch all these heist movies, all the robbers are portrayed as very cool people. But in reality, the money they are robbing doesn't just belong to the bank or the government or certain institution. It belongs to the common everyday people. People like us who have deposited their hard-earned money in these banks. That brings us to the end of the video. Alive and Curious is a new channel and would love to have your support. So, if you liked the video and for more such stories from around the world, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. See you in the next one.